While Thanksgiving Day has been celebrated in one shape or form, not necessarily as we know it now, but in some way throughout our history as a nation, it really wasn't until Abraham Lincoln's time as our president that Lincoln really settled it for what Thanksgiving was actually going to look like for us in the future. He made it a national holiday. And he did so in the time of the Civil War, one of the greatest trials that we have faced as a nation. And it's in this time, in this conflict, in this civil discord between the parts of our nation, that Lincoln called on people to give thanks. And he also asked specifically that the country pray that the Almighty would help heal the wounds of the nation. And it's because of this background for our celebration of Thanksgiving. I believe our gospel for today is particularly appropriate. It's in the midst of our worries in this world, that Jesus calls on us not to focus on the trials that we face, but Jesus instead calls us to focus on how we can serve God, on our service to our Lord. In other words, we're called not to have fear, but instead we're called to trust and to have faith in our Lord. And that can be a difficult thing for us to do sometimes. It can be a difficult thing in the midst of our trials, in the midst of everything going on in the world, in the midst of all the conflicts we face. And that's not just throughout the world. The conflicts we face in this country, even this county, and even maybe within our homes, amongst our families. It can be hard for us in the midst of all of this, not to fear. Yet Lincoln and those in the Civil War, in this great trial, in this dark period, one of the darker periods of our history as a nation. Lincoln and all those who took up that call for Thanksgiving with him, who were willing to put aside that fear that they must have had at that time, and instead to hold on to those things that they were thankful for. And for many too, to pray for what God could give them, to pray for hope and peace and reconciliation that can come from our Lord Jesus Christ. Lincoln and those in the Civil War didn't give in to fear, even in the midst of their trials. And my hope is that we won't either. And further still, my hope is that even in our trials, even when we do find ourselves in fear, we can have the opportunity to stop and to give thanks for those things that we do have, and to give thanks for our Lord's support and presence and love in all the moments that we go through. And most of all, in that hope, my desire is that each of you would take some time to pray about your service to our Lord, and to grow in that love for our God. To grow to love our Lord with all your heart, with all your soul.